friends, I am at the Mermaid Pond with my family. It is low tide right now, so we're safe for the moment. I'm gonna sketch before it gets kind of crazy and the waves start crashing over the wall. Hopefully I can do it quickly. This isn't the original Mermaid Pond from when I was a little boy. That one is no longer enterable. You can't get in there anymore. It's way too dangerous, but this one shouldn't be as bad. So I'm gonna sketch. Mum's laughing at me. Don't laugh at me. I'm gonna sketch before that happens. Hopefully you'll see a mermaid today. Isn't it beautiful? I know I'm not supposed to be working on my holidays, but I had to share this with you. Okay, bye. Friends, hope you enjoyed that montage I threw together of the Mermaid Pond at Southwest Rocks. I think it also goes by Mermaid Pools, but to me it's Mermaid Pond, Mermaid Lagoon, Mermaid Rocks, whatever I want to call it. And that's not the original one, like I said in the video. The original one that I went to when I was a young boy was down the way, but it is just so dangerous now you can't go there. But that one there we ended up going to when I was more like, I was still young. I probably would have been like 8, 9, 10. Maybe even younger than 8, I'm not sure. So most of my memories are from that one there, but it is not the original one. That one was like 100 meters down the way. So Mum said that I should film something, and I said no, I'm on holidays. And she brought up a good point that this was, if any place that I was going to include on YouTube and show people, it should probably be the place that sparked my obsession with mermaids, and it was the Mermaid Pond. So if you're watching Mermaid, I'm pretty sure I shared the story while at Southwest Rocks. There was, when I'd become aware of the mermaid ponds, and I was always trying to look for them, and I found it so difficult to find them. I would go back to the caravan park, and I saw that there was a seahorse in the, I used to go to the little shop at the caravan park, which was not much. I think it was just ice creams and drinks, and I used to get this chocolate milk called Nippies, which is still my favorite chocolate milk. And I went there was a little fish tank with a seahorse in it. The seahorse was so small, it was like this big, and someone had told me that mermaids rode on seahorses, so I completely lost it. I was like, this is why I haven't been able to find them, because they're so small, and I've been looking for some adult-sized creature in the water. So then I would get so excited I wanted to go back to Mermaid Pond to try and look for them again, and this is why I've made like a little scale here, because I wanted to remember that, you know, back when I was a little kid, I remember looking for things this small, and they had iridescent tails. They told me they looked like the little fish that I saw swimming in schools, and I should look for them there, and I just remember spending so long scouring the waters just trying to find them. It's such a nostalgic trip to return to the Mermaid Pond, but you know, and also to feel all of those things again. I did want to sketch it, you know, having moved towards this career path of kind of exploring my creativity and my imagination online. I thought it'd be a really great thing to share once Mum had illuminated that to me. So we're all pretty lucky for that. We can thank Mum. And I'm just going to show you the page today. If you saw a little boy running around the video, please don't be afraid. That is not someone else's child. That is my nephew, Elijah. I was there when Elijah Lou was born. I spent, after I got into my car accident, I spent over a year at home, and that was, you know, when he was still a baby, so I used to babysit him all the time, and, you know, I kind of get really connected with him just because that was the closest experience I've ever had to minding a child for an extended period, you know, like pretend parenting, but I still had the added benefit that he was my nephew and I could give him back to his mother at the end of the day. But he's such a beautiful little boy. He's so funny. He just literally made that whole experience probably one of the best parts of the holiday. And I think it was because I have so many childhood memories of Southwest Rocks, and growing up in Gran and colouring in and all the things we used to do there. Like, I mean, it's just endless how many memories I have for Southwest Rocks, and that was Elijah's first time there. So it brought back all the excitement of my own childhood to watch him experience the things that I have held so dearly to me all these years. I get to see him experience them for the first time, and it just made me feel super nostalgic, and I was just running on high the whole time. So thank you to my sister for letting him come. My sister came too, like everyone, it was a whole family affair, so we had a really, really great time. We're only there for a couple of days, and this was definitely something that I wanted to go and do irrespective, but Mum did say to film it, so just putting that out there. Massive shout out to Mum. Anyway, so we've got a page full of mermaids here. Some of these I did at the rock pool, some of them I did back at the holiday park at the cabin, and we got a mixture of it's mostly watercolors. You saw I used the seawater to put some of this Designs by Rachel Beth watercolor in here. It's in Manhattan. I think it is the most perfect fishtail, kind of mermaid tail, iridescent, beautiful. I mean, you saw it catch the light in the sun. It's just one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen. So if you are looking for that one, I just anticipate some people might be asking what it is. It's the Designs by Rachel Beth watercolor, and it's in Manhattan. We're gonna mix a watercolor, pen, pencil. I think that's it. I think the whole trip I didn't crack out any gouache, any acrylic paint, and nothing like that. I did a bit of stamping, so I got the ink pad out, but there were a few things I probably shouldn't have taken on the trip with me. Alcohol markers, I don't think I cracked into those at all either, so just kind of working on this. It was mostly watercolor, pencil, ink, and that's about it, I'm pretty sure. A little mechanical pencil down here. So we started with this. I literally, let's just glaze over that. She's not my fave. I love this one. Mum and I both loved the color scheme, the blue, pink, and yellow. We picked up my sister and I went to Eckersley's on the Central Coast when I was at home, and picked up a few random loose stock items, which, oh my goodness, they're so expensive there. I will never take for granted again how inexpensive it is to get some of this stuff in the States. I completely forgot. I mean, I remember I had an idea that it was a bit more expensive in Australia, but I did not quite realize until I'd spent like $90. I swear I walked out of there with 2 Copic markers, 3 pencils, and a notebook, and it was $90. I'm just not even kidding you. It was so expensive. So, well, I mean, there must have been more than that. What else did I buy? Am I missing something? I remember it being 90, and I remember not walking away with much. That's my point. But yeah, so I'm really, really sorry to all you Aussies. It must be heartache to see some of this stuff online, especially if you're easily enabled like me. But those were the 3 kind of Faber-Castell. I think they're watercolor pencils that I was using for those, so I really like those. And I love the watercolor pencils because you get the mixture of textures. You can, I don't like to dissolve them completely. I like to just add some water in random places and smooth them out a bit, but have that color go from like smooth into textured. So you can see in the body there, it's got some of that going on. obviously this was done really sketchy and kind of propped up on rocks and stuff, and it was a little windy and very sunny. I got completely burnt, then tanned. I like to say that my freckles all connect up because I don't really tan straight away. But yeah, this is the first time I've seen sun in a long time, and the Australian sun is so particular and just really attacked me. So some of them were very, very sketchy, which is fine. I love that sketchy look too. But when I got back to the caravan park, I think you can see the ones that I took a lot more time on rendering, or the ones that I really wanted to play around with some of these ideas that I was getting. I guess I wouldn't say this is an urban sketching video because I didn't actually draw my environment. I drew what the environment inspired me to draw. So I don't know if there's a name for that, but if you've got a great one, let's just pop it down in the comments and we'll make it a thing. But it was, it's more just to be in an environment. I think I said this before in the, when I was sketching at California Adventure Park, Disneyland. I think it's the idea of being absorbed into the like the people, the sounds, the smells, the sights, and you don't necessarily have to draw what you're seeing. You can also be drawing what you're feeling, or you can be drawing on ideas and things that pass you by. So it's more pulling inspiration from a bit of an abstract place, which is something that I like to do anyway. But this in particular, like I didn't actually spot any mermaids that day, and I think it was because it was low tide. So so I'm just kind of drawing things that I'm just inspired to draw, and I've been drawing mermaids since that first time I went to the Mermaid Pond. So you know, I've got millions to keep trying to do, and this is the one that I really, really enjoy here. I really like how she turned out as well. Very you know, I never really put more than a couple. I would say most of the time when I draw a mermaid tail, you can even see here, it's usually one curve, like one swoop. It might dip back the other way, like it might catch an S curve if you're lucky. I'd never really do multiple curves in a tail, and I don't know why that is, but I think that's probably why I did end up enjoying this, because it looked a little different from what I'm used to doing. And you know, having drawn probably close to 45 million mermaids in my lifetime, it's funny to still see that there's a lot that I haven't tried. So this is a really good, it's kind of like a really good cross-section to see where I'm taken and what to try and do next, and also playing with mediums. This one I actually really, really loved here, but because I painted it in first, and then I was going to draw on top of it, and my mum just said, leave it, that looks great like that. And I thought she was totally right, because I don't know if it'll pick up, but this is some Xanadu Art Studio watercolor. It's a color called Flesh, but it has a purple iridescence in it, which I think is just such an interesting mix. Like it's got this deep kind of tan color, but it's also got this purple iridescence, which just, I mean, to me it's like fairy skin. So I really, really love that. And I used the Daniel Smith granulating watercolors down here. I used Sleeping Beauty turquoise, and I think this is a Terre Verte green. I'm probably butchering that. I don't speak any of those linguas. I don't really know what it's called. Or maybe Italian green something. I don't know. It's a granulating green, but it's a really nice texture to look at, and I think that's why Mum said just leave it like that, because she was fascinated how we were playing with some of the student grade watercolors and the Daniel Smith watercolors, and she was asking what some of the differences were, and I was showing her how you know, when she was using, because I gave her my Jane Davenport palettes and my Prima palette, just because I have the Mungo and it was all just repeats anyways. So she has those tins at home, and I have my big Mungo palette to replace those. And I was showing her how, like in the Daniel Smith, you can get these really fun effects, and you can see the difference in how the pigment behaves on the paper than when you're using the student grade watercolors. And so I think she just wanted me to leave that, because she was actually quite impressed at how it did so much. She even told me that I was cheating, because she was like, it did all of that and you didn't do anything to it. She's like, that was just the water. And I said, yeah, that's why I love it. That's why it's great. So that if you haven't really played with those yet, if you haven't had the opportunity, if you've got a friend that might want to do a swap with you, I know in the Burke Mates Creative Outlet, people are always posting swaps for Daniel Smith watercolors, and I'm sure someone will be happy to pour out a little half pan for you if you've got some goods to trade. It's very old world marketplace, very bartering system. So, but some people do just want to help a brother out. So if you need to get involved in that, please don't feel shy to post in the Burke Mates Creative Outlet Facebook group. I would love people to try these, because it's a really different experience, and I think you can see here it's a super interesting effect for nothing. Like, you don't have to do a lot to get a really fun effect. Much like the Designs by Rachel Beth watercolors, Mum literally tried to steal them again. I saw them in her little tub. I had all my pencil cases in my plastic acrylic box with everything. She had a little tub over here, and I saw like each collection slowly move over, because I still have them in their color stories. She would slowly move them over to her box, and she asked if she could keep a couple and I could repurchase them, and I said they're so difficult to get that I think I'm gonna hold on to this, and I might try and get her some for Christmas. Although I bought her a big pencil set for Christmas, because my gran had, all her life, my gran was stealing my pencils, and sorry this is turning into story time, I'm so carried away. I'm still on holiday mode, can you tell? I literally woke up like an hour ago from a 6-hour nap. I'm so jet lagged. And my gran had all these pencils, but she kept stealing mine, and I would always ask for really nice pencils for Christmas, and it was just a lot, and she would steal them, and I get really upset because I had them all in order, and then, you know, I was able to share eventually when I grew up and realized I shouldn't be selfish, but eventually Gran got her own set of pencils, and then wouldn't you know it, I wanted to use hers. So I got my mum her own big set of Faber-Castell pencils, although one of them didn't come with a lead in it, like a purple, and like it was completely missing the inside. I was really annoyed by that, but it was kind of too late to take them back. So she's got it all, she's fine, she doesn't need that purple, she's got a replacement purple over to the side. But I gave them to her for Christmas because I said, well, you're a real gran now. Like, she's got, I don't know, 6 grandkids, none of them from me. But she's got, I think 6. How many do I have? I've got 1 niece and I've got, yeah, 5 nephews. So she's got 6 grandkids now. I said, it's official, you're a grandmother, you have to have your own set of pencils for Southwest Rocks, because selfishly I was just thinking my own childhood memories there. But she was really happy with it, and she had them all set up at her table, and she's just coloring in, and she's coloring in the mermaid book as well. She was doing her old, she's up to old tricks again. She was journaling in all the mermaid spots. I love it because she uses that thing as her own art journal. She doesn't have one, and she says she's not going to get into it, but every time I go to her mermaid book, like, she took one to Bali, she took it to Southwest Rocks, she took it here. Everywhere you can see, she's written down different things that she did during the day, and she's put it in a really creative spread. We did try to film a flip. I'll put a little bit of a clip up here. We tried to film a flip of her journal that she was working on, the mermaid coloring book flip part 2, but it was so windy outside, and it was so you couldn't really hear anything, and I didn't know how, like, there was no light anywhere else, and it was the last 2 days of our trip, so I did just leave that there, and hopefully she can flip it again whenever I go home again, which who knows when that will be. It is such a long flight. How do I forget? Every single time I go home and come back, I remember I'm saying I'm never going to do that again. Also, you lose the day that you go there, but you get 2 of the day that you leave. So I've lived November 6 twice, and both times were uneventful. So not happy about that. Was it November 6? No, I lived November 20 twice. I missed November 6 or 7. Either way, both times were uneventful, so I didn't really miss much. So we've got this one. I love this one. I love this one because you had to do like nothing. I love these here because of the scale, and it gave me kind of like an idea I wanted to try, but I didn't get around to doing it, unfortunately. I got carried away with everything else. I wanted to do a whole like a study. You know, when you see people going out, they do research about leaves or botanicals and, you know, different flora and fauna. They take their little journals, very Tarzan, very like, you know, taking notes and documentation of stuff. I wanted to do one all about mermaids, but like having this scale in there, showing the scale, getting some close-up details, and just making a fantasy page of like a mermaid study. I'm sure it already exists, but I just left it with that idea for now, and because I enjoyed that one so much, I did another one back at home, just kind of with pencil, and filled it back out. Not at home, back at the cabin, sorry. This one I could have done without, but I did want to remember that, you know, the reason I started thinking they were small was because of the seahorse in that tank, so I wanted to have one riding the seahorse. At the end of the day, I thought it was just like a really bad copy of the one that I'd done back in Mermaid, so that's why I kind of didn't finish that one, but she's fine, we can leave her like that. I put this one here because this was a very simple mermaid, and I thought there were probably some that were a little bit more extravagant and a little bit more ultra, so I wanted to add some little flair to that one and see if I had to reduce the scale even more, if they had a lot more going on. I don't know why, like, there didn't need to be logic, but apparently that's where my brain went. This was actually so funny. My mum said that I had ruined this this whole spread by doing what I started out with this one, because I was using a lot of fluorescent colors, and it wasn't until she said, look at how bright that is, that I stepped back and I looked at it, and I looked at the whole page, and all I saw was this. So I used water, and I was using gel pens, and I could kind of dilute all the fluorescence into this really beautiful soft pink and orange kind of just a wash in the background. Then I drew over the top of it. This is where I love mixed media. You can always go back over the top of a lot of things. I'm not going to say everything because not everything does want to cooperate, but I could go back over the top of this, and I think it just became probably one of my most favorites on this page. I love this one. I'm really into this one. Super obsessed with the idea of this one. I think she's really sweet and funny, but I also really love the face and how small this little one is. Everything else is, you know, fun for different reasons, and I like them for different things, but those are kind of my faves. So we've covered all of this top section up here. Let's go down to the bottom. She doesn't have a tail. I don't even know where I was going with this one. I think this is the Daniel Smith watercolor in the Smalt, S-M-A-L-T, I think. It's literally one of the most intense granulating watercolors, and so I wanted to play with the texture of that because Mum wouldn't let me draw on top of this one. I thought, well, I'll draw on top with the texture on this one. I got the designs by Rachel Beth Manhattan in there as well, and just went for something a little bit more abstract. I like the idea of it, I just don't think it reads mermaid to me, so perhaps if she had her tail, that would have been really fun, but at this point I wanted to keep it all on one spread so I could look at it all, and she didn't. I thought the tail could come back up here somewhere, but I wanted to draw other things. This one here, super cute little watercolor. This is one that I watercolor painted first and then did the design on top of. I really enjoy her. She's got a bit of a fresh modern look, and instead of scales being loops like I usually do, I actually did them in triangles, which I don't know, it looked a little bit more geometric, which was fun. This one I explained, this was the pencil version of the scaled mermaid up here, and this one here I had done on, did I do it? No, I didn't do it on another page. I ended up redrawing this on the plane, a much worse version of this on the plane. The reason I did this was because I was drawing hair on one of them, and I wanted to erase, oh, it was this one. I didn't love her hair. It actually came all the way out here, and so I erased it, but you could still see some of the texture like hitting the edges of where it had been erased, and I thought, oh, that might be a fun thing to try. So this was actually all random curls and zigzags and everything everywhere. Then I got my eraser and just erased the outside so that it was all of that curliness, but it was contained in like a straight hairdo. I don't know if that was going to be a thing for me, and I just said to Mum, like, I've got an idea, so I have to try it. I think it's an interesting look. I don't think it was what I thought it was going to be, but if you want to try it, that's how I did it. But then I had this illustration down here, and I had nothing to, I thought if I'm going to put the tail off the edge, I want it to be something interesting, because I kind of missed the mark with this one, but I put the tail off the edge, and it kind of looked like when I put her thing on that they were fish lips, and so I thought, what if her mermaid tail was just a fish? Like, what if she probably wasn't even a mermaid, she was just like someone swimming that a fish just grabbed her, and now she's a mermaid. So I really enjoyed this idea. I think it's super funny to me. It seems a little grotesque when you think about it. Like, I don't really want to go that far, but it is. But it's a nice little idea that I like. So I did try it again, but I think this is the one I prefer than the one I did on the plane. And this one here just gives me very Memoirs of a Geisha vibes. Very memoirs, very underwater. I love all the fluid lines in that, and that's what I associate with mermaids more than anything, is just that you know, the fluidity of their hair moving through the water and their tails, kind of everything has that really undulating kind of a look and a feel and an emotion, and so it's kind of one of the most difficult things to build into a drawing though, so that's why I like mermaids, because you and not really why I like them, but why I think it can be fun to see if they do or they don't work, because sometimes you can really achieve that look, and then sometimes you've got a mermaid that looks like she's frozen in time and slapped on a page. So it's kind of tricky to actually get something that looks you know, like it's got motion going on, and I know a lot of people don't like to draw hair or find it a big struggle to draw hair, and also you know, drawing hair is hard enough, but drawing it moving underwater and having some kind of fluidity to it can be really tricky as well. So I really enjoy that challenge, and when it just works, it feels like it just works for me. So it's always a nice little surprise to get to the end and be like, oh, I like that, and that did what I think it should have done. So mermaid's probably the thing I've had the most practice with my whole life, and you can see that, you know, whether you spend 5 minutes on something or 25 minutes on something, you're going to have different effects, you're going to have different looks. You might try a different medium here and do something different over here. At the end, when I was writing just mermaids, I put these little illustrations in here which I thought were fun. This is from a pink color Eno pencil that I was gifted by Erica. Thank you again. I have literally almost used all that lead. But what I love to see is just the variation in stuff, and that's what I think is so fun about art journals, and why I encourage people just to let go and don't worry if you've got something right here that you don't like, something next to something that you do really like. It's really not the end of the world. I think to have a glance, kind of a snapshot of something like this is a lot more helpful for what you're when you're kind of working. I think having all the ideas together, looking at things that didn't work here that you can try and avoid here, or things that you liked about this but could probably neaten up somewhere else, try it over here. I think that's where, when you're doing these studies and you're doing these kind of thumbnail sketching, I think that's why it's a good thing to keep them all in one spread and not abandon it because you might not like particularly one thing on the page. So if that's the word of encouragement I can leave you with today, hopefully it resonates with you. Thank you so much, by the way, for being so patient with my holiday. I know I didn't respond to like nearly anybody's DMs, no emails. Like, I turned the Etsy shop on vacation mode. I mean, I went in on vacation. I literally ate my way through New South Wales. So I'm just looking really jolly for Christmas. But it was really, really good. It was so needed. I really needed to relax a little bit and kind of tune out. Some of the stuff that I ended up creating just gave me so many fresh ideas for what's coming next, for what I want to do in 2019. I have so much just ready to tackle, and I am going to be restructuring a few things. So I don't want you to get panicked or anything. To be honest, most of it will look the same. It will just kind of look different from my end. But I just want to thank you for your patience in that. And I know there were still videos going up, but I don't know, there was something about me watching those videos back that I could tell how exhausted I was, or I could tell like how I just needed to go on holiday then, and now I'm feeling myself now, and I've just sat down to edit the first parts of this video and got that whole montage together, and I'm just thinking, see, that's the refresher I needed. Something nice like that, so I could just come in here, have a chat to you about anything and everything, give you some tips, give you some advice, give you some stories if I have any, and that's just, I just feel so much more comfortable, so much more relaxed now. So thank you all for your patience in those 2 weeks. I will, I'm kind of back to normal now, resuming everything as it once was. So business as usual. I'm going to pretend to be jet lagged for another few days just to really make the most out of my holiday. And until the next time, thanks for watching. Bye.